Hello and welcome to another edition of TFL Does Observer Roulette. We are here with a game of Age of Empires 3. I've got absolutely no idea whether these players are famous, whether they are unknown, whether they are high elo, low elo, whether they are good or bad. I'm not looking at their names and I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to see what happens in this game with absolutely no expectations. And this game is going to be between France, who are in blue, which is the correct colour for France to be in, so that's already made me happy, versus the Dutch, the Netherlands civilization, who are in the colour red, and they are here on the north side of Lake Chad, where there is a trade route with 3 TPs. There are little goats, just individual single goats dotted around the north half of the map. That's also where the good big treasures are. And there is a sort of... I mean, it's not a great lake, is it? It's a bit of a pathetic lake. But there's a piddly little lake in the middle. And it's got some fish in it. And you can put some boats in it if you really want to. But you don't have a water flag, so there are no use picking a water deck here on Lake Chad. In terms of the opening, we see the Dutch explorer coming down here, finding a goat. I wonder if this sort of looks like they were going for the TP there, but has not got the wood, and I would not be expecting Dutch to open with a TP. Other than that, they've got 12 villagers queued up, which makes 15 with the age up. They're still mining gold though, so they're going to go for 16. Yes, they are. Just 13 gold over gathered, that's not too bad. But now it's going to be a big old walk to pick up these giraffes because the animals, the African map animals, but especially these giraffes and these ostriches, and the elephants are pretty bad too. They just wander all over the place. Like, they've got absolutely no respect for what you want them to do. They just go off and do their own thing. So, yeah, my sympathies to the Dutch player with that. I mean, we've got a little bit of a problem here with France, and they're herding as well. Oh, that's really unfortunate. I bet the gather point was actually on this one as well, but the CDBs decided to go over here. That's really unlucky. And now, trying to herd these giraffes, but they're not going the right way. Oh, everyone's having a nightmare with their herding, and I am sympathetic. So France have gone for the TP opening. They also needed a house. So I think they were probably chopping wood at the beginning to do that. Their native scout is doing some laps here just to uncover the map around the top half. That's really nice. The goat being eaten to get a good fast age 1 in. That's interesting. We like to see that. That promises perhaps slightly more pro play from this game. Going to be aging up with the governor. So tower and 200 coin. Potentially could be thinking about an FF. The deck name, we're going to test my language skills here. Setevaya Igrashu. Unfortunately, I don't know what that actually means, but I can butcher the pronunciation of it. So you're welcome, viewers. In terms of this deck, it's a big old age 2 aggression deck. Got quite a lot of weird cards in there. Extensive fortifications, bit weird. Riding school, very weird. Engineering school, very, very weird. But yeah, there you have it. Got the resource crates, got 4 CDBs, so you know, I mean, I love the double forts. This is great. Double forts. I've never even seen that friend. So is this from vanilla then? Because it hasn't got a weird icon. This age 4 extra fort. From before everyone had an age 4 extra fort. Have France always had an extra age 4 fort? Is that a thing? I'm not really an expert on France. Sorry. Do write in the comments why France got an extra age 4 fort card. In terms of Dutch, deck is called FF. We've got absolutely loads of stuff going on here. We've got 2 Mercs. We've got the Bosniaks in age 3 as well. We've got the Nassau Regiment, the Blue Guards, 14 of those for 1,000 gold in Age 3. Obviously, the Dutch have aged up with the Quartermaster. I mean, what did you expect? Have they got one bank down already? Yeah, they've done one bank in transition. So, you know, this is completely unremarkable Dutch opening, but it seems to be being executed quite cleanly. Got 4 villagers on the bank, which is approximately right. We'll hop back over to France briefly. First card in Age 2 is the 4 CDB. They've left the 200 gold on the floor, they've put the tower defensively, and they're opening up with a stable. Not that much surprising about that either. So far we're seeing pretty standard play on both sides of this game. French explorer wandering in, going to get shooed away. We'll check up on the scouting actually. So Dutch have scouted kind of the front of the French base. We'll be able to keep an eye on their hunts-ish. But yeah, a little bit of an opportunity for France to go around the back there. France have scouted absolutely everything. I mean, it almost looks like I've got the map on. View everything mode. Look how comprehensive this is. So they're going to know exactly which hunts Dutch are taking and going to have really good vision of that. France's opening military is going to be a batch of 5 Huss. That batch is filled out no problem. Still continuing CDB production. Have now picked up the gold from the start. And the Huss are heading over towards the Dutch side to see what they can find. Meanwhile, on the Dutch side, we're still producing villagers. We've got 3 banks down. I noted 700 food and 700 wood ship, but not the bank wagon. That's kind of interesting. It means a bit more time spent building the banks. So kind of a tad inefficient, but maybe sets them up for the age up to age 3 really nicely. And yeah, this is some tidy macro. Look at that. Oh, so close. Gonna use the market to get the final 100 food, are we? Go on, use the market. You know you want to. You know you want to. Oh no! Oh, this is a little bit of a delay. That's unnecessary. Yeah, I could have had that age up in about 20 seconds earlier. Oh, now they use the market after it's too late. So yeah, a little bit of a slow end of age 2 there for the Dutch. Has allowed time for these Hussars to make it all the way over here. And it's a bit unfortunate because of this bad herding. All these villages are being disrupted now, as potentially the Hussars are going to get 2 kills, maybe even 3 kills actually, because this guy was lagging behind the rest of the crowd. And all these villas have been forced to move over to the town centre. They're popping out and taking the goats, which is a good way to sort of kill the time while you wait for the Hussars to move on. But you're going to kind of have a problem, potentially, to put quite some care and attention into moving these elephants back into place. Shipment of 8 pikemen coming in during the transition. Did age up fast, I believe. Skirmishers also being trained, so we've got a mixed infantry opening to age 3, but they're quite basic units, and those, you know, the 8 pikes is not an amazing shipment, especially at sort of late age 2, early age 3's time. France feeling bold, sticking down a forward barracks here. No idea whatsoever who's going to be building it. There's no villagers for miles, so that's going to take ages to come up. Dutch envoy is actually watching that corner of things as well. These cavalry are going to play run around with the pikes. They force the villagers back into the TC again. No kills though. If we check in on France, so they're aging up now. I don't think they built any military other than those 5 Huss that have actually caused quite a lot of disruption, as well as, was it 3 villager kills? So really good value, really good sort of classic French semi-FF here. The sneaky barracks is going down here. We'll just check. So Dutch have scouted this area, but haven't got the active line of sight on it, so don't see that going up, that CDB. What a hero. Really, like, forging the direction for his people. Dutch training some more skirms now. Of course, they have got only 3 banks. Could potentially think about shipping in that 1,000 wood and getting down another bank, another town centre perhaps, another military building. actually is building the stable anyway, building more houses because they need to, keeping up the vil production, that's good. But yeah, kind of a limited military, haven't really exploded into age 3 at the end of this FF. Ooh, now this is a surprise. French sending Royal Fencing School. That gives them the 3 musketeers. Sadly, they're just called musketeers. Also improves infantry training speed, yes. So can potentially rush some stuff out of this barracks in a really timely fashion. Invested in plenty of houses, despite not sending 700 wood, so put quite a lot of their eco into just naturally gathering wood for quite a lot of houses, which is a little bit inefficient. Also going for the covered wagons, so quite a greedy fortress age for France going on here. Now Dutch still haven't seen that barracks. Might get wise to it though, because I noticed France are looking at building this TP, sending the explorer over to do so. Huss now, even with a batch of skirms, are not going to be able to put up this mass, unless of course they catch them by surprise. Oh no, Dutch player not paying attention. Oh, that's really bad. They lost a good quarter of their army there just to the fact that they were not engaging. Now the pikes have to run after the Huss. The Huss do run away appropriately. Skirms are going to lose here against the superior number of Dutch skirms, but they'll get some decent value against these Reuters. Huss should have kept running away, potentially sacrifice 1 over to stall the pikemen. Didn't need to lose all those Huss, could easily have kept half of them. And that turns out to be an okay trade for the Dutch. Actually, they've done pretty well there with the superior numbers. France not running away was a crucial mistake. Now this barracks feels a little bit awkward for France. Dutch could stop off here and take out that TP, but deciding to go all the way down to the enemy base. Possible Dutch might notice in a minute that France have got all 3 TPs, because it will be visible up here on the UI. And that might trigger them to then notice this barracks. We'll check whether they've got the line of sight. So they still haven't noticed the barracks. It's interesting. They might just think, oh, there are some units. Now they've noticed the barracks. Okay. So a little bit of a change of situation here. In response to that, Dutch do decide to stop off with this army and take out the rest of the middle TP. Dutch, mostly training Reuters, have shipped in, oh, you love to see it, shipped in advanced artillery, so they get the mortar, get the opportunity to train more mortars, although I don't think they've got an artillery foundry down at the moment. So that mortar is going to be used to take out these buildings nice and quickly. Let's check, how much does a mortar do in age 3? I don't think it has a debuff for being in age 3, right? So it's 500 a pop, so that's going to be... how quickly? 6 seconds. So that's going to be 30 seconds just the mortar in 30 seconds can take down that barracks. That is a pretty good value unit if you ask me. Of course it is a whole shipment, but you also get the ability to train more, so yada yada yada, it balances out. France now, interestingly, going into a Musk Falk composition here. So we've got the 2 Falconet shipment, you love to see it. We've got veteran musketeers, of course they're training quickly thanks to the card. 3 of them are royal, about 17 more are non-royal. CDB Eco working away just fine. Dutch Eco 10 villages behind, but they've got just 3 banks, so it's probably pretty equal in terms of overall value. I noticed though Dutch do seem to be macroing for age 4. They're also shipping in the fort to defend that transition. So I think we're going to see Dutch going up to age 4, interestingly. Got the real advantage right now in terms of units on the field. France, with this barracks that was kind of awkward, were training units out of there for a while, just getting them slaughtered against the big Dutch mass. Have correctly now recalibrated, so they've got military buildings at home and building up a mass at home, but they lost a little bit of momentum there, and that's kind of reflected in the score. I think maybe Dutch have a shade of an eco lead, although I think the investment in getting this age up might have stopped that. Also, France have invested in a second town centre, so we'll start to pull back in eco terms as that produces villagers. The big problem for France, though, is that they're really committing to this Musk Falk, and there's especially a certain kind of critical mass at which Skirmgoon poses a real problem for Musk Falk, because you just can't intimidate all those skirms for you just can't intimidate all those skirms with your falcons, and once they stick around and start picking off your musketeers, your army is looking really, really vulnerable. Oh, and Dutch sees an opportunity here. The falcons were left hung out to dry a little bit. Reuters go in. Actually did give up. Could have committed to that, I think. Would probably have lost most of their Reuters, but the secret is that that's fine. You can throw away those Reuters because the skirmishers can look after themselves right now. There is no cav on the field. France now queuing up some Hussar and veteran Hussar. That's a little bit too late, and Hussars aren't even fantastic against this composition. What you really want are some skirmishers of your own, I think. Dutch side of things, they are taking all the hunts near this fort. The fort has gone up in a really good position. Of course, there's two ways around this lake. This fort is really nicely cutting off one of those two ways, but there's still the opportunity to go the other way for France. France, though, it feels like they've lost their initiative a little bit. Are booming, have now got the third TC going down, so are obviously planning to boom up their villager numbers. Absolutely nowhere near having enough macro for the age up. Massively mis-macroing here, have overgathered wood. That's enough wood for all the mills and estates you're ever going to need, and then quite a few after. Could maybe put some of that wood into crossbows, but, you know, yeesh. Could maybe put some of that wood into towers right now. Could do with the forts, but they've only got the H4 fort card. They've got space in their deck for the H3 fort. I've just remembered you could swap one of the H4 forts in and have a fort available right now. That would be really useful. I'm going to continue losing buildings to this mortar. Absolutely huge value from that mortar. I did say it was a good decision. Really interesting change to the advanced artillery card we've seen in the most recent updates. The Dutch army is now pushing in. France might not have spotted it. Let's try and find France's LOS. France might not have spotted it. There are a few CDBs here who the Dutch could be killing, but maybe they don't want to raise the alarm yet. France not reacting at all. Now the building is under attack. France are aware of the situation. A sad 2 Hussar get just to the front of this mortar and then picked off by the Reuter before they have a chance to land an attack. Dutch being really paranoid with these Reuter, keeping them away from the musketeers. It doesn't matter that much whether or not they do. The key thing is that these falconets are firing on those pikes, and they did get a nice shot in on this mass of skirmishers, but the thing is, those falconets, they are the only thing France have to deal with these skirmishers, so they need to be almost completely annihilating it. Musketeers having to work hard to defend the falconets from the Reuter. Eventually the falconets are traded for the Reuter, and now it's just Musk v Skirm, and this is when, like, I'll advocate for Skirm Musk every day of the week, but this is the problem you can land yourself in. Sorry, I can advocate for Musk Falc, but this is the problem you can land yourself in. Your artillery have been picked off, and now it's just skirmishers v Musk. France eventually now getting the skirmishers out. This is what they needed to do a while ago, but it's going to be difficult for them to turn this tide. They have not got the numbers yet. I don't think they're going to be able to get them out. They've still got way too much wood. Can definitely manage another couple of batches of skirms. Actually, that might be enough if Dutch have given up on reinforcing. Dutch in the back of this are in age 4. Haven't got any guard upgrades in yet. Haven't really got any massive cards. I mean, the 2 heavy cannons could be potentially really interesting here. Do eventually lose that mortar. It took out half a town centre, but half a town centre still works as a whole town centre until something else is there to threaten it. France have managed to put out enough skirmishers just from constantly producing them from 2 barracks, and the fact that the Dutch kind of interrupted their reinforcement chain due to this age up, I think. Dutch, interestingly, going for another fort, really committing to this bottom side of the map. Would really like to see France expanding up into the north. They're sort of doing it with their hunts a little bit, so that's good. But I get the impression they're still quite interested in fighting around the bottom here. It's worth saying France had all 3 trade posts. Now they have 0. So they've really been pushed back in that respect. In terms of the French army, it's a pretty sorry situation right now. We've got 15 skirms and 5 Huss. Dutch military total. The 2 heavy cannons from the shipment are there. We've got 25 skirms in total. Similar number of Huss, also some Reuter. So if the Dutch are going to push in right now, they'll definitely have the edge. They'll definitely be able to trade down these armies at good value, but probably not quite enough for a knockout. I note that 1,000 gold is on the floor for France. I wonder if that means we're going to be moving towards an age up. That massive amount of wood has been spent. So France going full monster turtle here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 estates down. My goodness, it's like back in the old vanilla days when you needed to maximize your XP. We've got 4 estates, 4 mills, a load of walls. The walls not upgraded, the walls not finished in lots of places as this Dutch army arrives. Huss getting through onto the skirmishers and the 2 heavy cannons firing at the back. The French Huss long since gone, and this is not looking good for France. I said it wasn't enough to be a knockout blow for the Dutch, but maybe I was mistaken, because I think they could push the agenda right now. 2 heavy cannons in particular at the back firing away can basically take out anything except really France building an artillery foundry right at the back and massing up culverins and some heavy infantry to protect those culverins from the Dutch cavalry. That's really the only way for an age 3 France to put the brakes on this age 4 Dutch push. And you've got to say, like, the Dutch never really had a superior eco. Like, if you count up the villages, factor in the banks, they've still only got 3 banks. I think they've got a factory now as well, so that is helping. But they've managed to absolutely dominate this game, and I think it's a little bit of micro, a little bit of good timing with this skirmishing along the side, and mostly it's been the power of that mortar shipment and the power of a good skirm goon composition beating Musk Falk composition as the GG comes in. Beating off a Musk Falk composition that didn't have enough Falk and did have too much Musk. So that's a win for Dutch. A really good tight game there. Really good quality play. Both players getting their build orders off really nicely. Good tight skirmishing. A little bit questionable, I think, the amount France invested in these buildings. Like I say, what's that? 4 mills and 4 estates. So that's like 4,000 wood, and I think they pretty much gathered that. They did ship 1,000 wood, but you know, you've also got 1,000 woods worth of TCs here, so they had to gather pretty much 5,000 wood. I mean, add up the total price of all these houses and so on. That's an enormous amount of resources, and the Dutch just weren't bothering with that because they had control of all the hunts, and there were plenty of hunts out here for France to go for, plenty of gold mines as well. I think if France had chosen to challenge, take a fight on both fronts rather than just one, could have been potentially quite a different game. But that was a fun one to watch, very competitive and tight. So thank you for that. Thank you for joining me, and see you next time, and GG.